What? Don't laugh at me.
Yeah. Woe to the person who doesn't know.
Look,
or work in production.
I'm able to be this professional. You just have to warn me.
Is everybody good?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, my ears are not being destroyed. We're all good.
They're not?
No, they're fine.
Oh. Well, we're doing this wrong then.
This one goes up to 11.
This podcast is only good if we can blow people's eardrums out.
Yeah, Michael.
Senor.
You're on a thing.
I am on a thing. I'm on a new thing.
A new old thing.
It's nice, although I won't be able to tell. You guys could probably tell me that I sound different. I'll know when this airs. I
mention it because it's just that yours goes to 11, you say, right?
Yes.
And we did a little swapperooski on mics because I was trying to get cute and create a little bit of more of a home studio over here for when to have people here. I may have multiple mics set up. So we traded my USB over to you, and I have what they call an XLR mic, which is kind of a more standard audio connection for those people that are interested in the production minute.
Yeah, production minutes are always good.
Yeah, but I mentioned it goes to 11 because, Michael, how many dials are on your microphone?
I can count 1 and 2.
But you have dials on your microphone.
I do have dials.
And your box came with a cable, and it came with a cool little bag and a stand and like hardware to put your thing on the stand.
Yeah, I'm actually I'm using the box right now so I don't have to Quasimodo myself over the microphone.
Hey, look, the production minute, you don't have to let them know we're not completely with it.
Here's the pro tip. Don't slam or even like forcefully set your hands on the table because you'll be able to hear it in the sound produced by the microphone.
I was playing around with it, and if I turn the gain up too high, I could hear myself breathing, so...
Yeah, you can go... It can go bad if you do stuff bad.
Well, I'd say you got the Cadillac of microphones in this swap because I opened the box to mine today.
How's that Pinto working out?
It's supposed to be the same microphone. It's like you got the Lincoln and I got the Ford.
Uh-oh.
So mine came with no cables, no stand. No cables was quite a shock, considering I don't know how I was going to hook it up to all this other stuff without cables.
So they assume you are professional enough that you already have all the cables.
Well, it's odd because it comes in the same size box that yours came in. It's exactly the same size microphone. There's just nothing in the box. So I'm wondering if Amazon sent me like an open box item or something. I don't know. I got to contact somebody. But it was weird. And so your dials go to 11. Mine doesn't even have dials.
So did you buy like the professional version or something that assumes you already have all that junk? Like I'm confused because like the one that I got came with all that stuff that you have with Michael's. And I'm like, what is the deal, man?
What is a good question.
What is?
What is? It is the X. They call it the not. You guys got the 2020 Plus, which is like the USB fancy version.
Yeah.
And like standard home, like studios and standard studios and everything will use non-USB. They'll use like a XLR cable, which is a 3-pin uncompressed audio cable to send signals to a soundboard and then the soundboard over USB to the computer. So in an effort to make the option to have people drop in my office as a studio, if somebody's coming by like frequent contributors or whatever, we could plop a nice mic in front of them rather than sharing one if we had a soundboard. So this plan went into effect when Michael decided to join the pod. And I thought I had all the pieces. Luckily, I technically do, thanks to my other job. I have sound cables and things, but I was not prepared 5 minutes before this podcast to pull them all out and start start the cable management sim, you know?
Yeah, always the worst part of the computer setup thing is after you have everything done, you have to figure out how to wrangle all the cables into being where you want them.
Yeah, currently there's some that are laying across my lap, and we're just going to live with this the way it is. And lesson learned and possible emails sent. But, hey, we're here for you, Production Minute, and now we all sound all pretty good. I think we sound good.
Yeah,
I think
definitely.
you guys sound good. That's all I'm saying. Oh, boy. Okay, I'm done. How's everybody's weekend?
It was good. It was festive.
Festive, Michael.
Yeah,
Should we say here on the pod?
I had a birthday. I am another year older.
Yay!
Time marches forward for all of us.
Another year wiser.
Something like that. There was cake. There was good food, good friends.
Yeah.
That's all you need.
There you go.
Cake is important, definitely. So, nothing you can say about that.
I think that if you don't explode yourself at a buffet every year past 30 for your birthday, probably just you need to check in. You know, how can you still do it?
You're missing out.
JJ, we should tell you about the mission that Andy was on. Speaking of the buffet.
Oh yeah, we went out for Michael's and my daughter's birthday. It's a large buffet, but I don't know that I can cop to the mission.
It was an impressive attempt to try everything.
That is dicey depending on where you are and what time of day it is.
Also the 2-hour time limit.
Yeah, buffets have those because otherwise, look, someone would be a fat and eat it all forever.
It was a mission to try it in bites. None of my plates were like 7 pancakes deep. It was like 1 pancake, one piece of bacon.
So this was a brunch buffet. That was
yes.
a lacking piece of information. So that can be tough. There's a lot of breads and filling type things in a brunch. And man,
and they didn't stop there. I mean, they had pokey and
oyster bar.
Yeah, oyster bar, a noodle station, the prime rib station, the nacho station.
Did you guys go to Taps?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. That buffet is too big.
You know what did the most damage was the desserts and the second beer, I think.
I'm going to go with starting off ordering not off the buffet menu was a tall order.
You know what? That was a fantastic southern fried chicken sandwich.
That sounds good.
Yeah, they have like little things you can order from the kitchen also, which are like southern biscuits, like a chicken fried steak kind of deal. Stuff like that they don't want to have just out. It was fantastic. I'm sure I didn't complete it. I missed the noodle station because the line was too long. But I was inspired because we were there while somebody was doing Disneyland Done Quick, and I wanted to try and do buffet Done Quick.
All right. Now you have to go and explain to the people out there what Disneyland Done Quick is.
Disneyland Done Quick. Okay. So there's a streamer by the name of Jay Kaplan, I believe. Twitter, JCap, JKAP, I think. Can anybody remember what speed run this person was doing? I don't remember.
I also do not remember.
An enthusiast of speedruns, who was a previous record holder and stuff like that, decided to take speedrunning to the real world and try to finish Disneyland in 14 hours, I think was the target goal. And by oneself using the fast passes and return times, etc. I believe Max Pass as well, which is like the app version of getting a fast pass, and wanted to see if they could complete every single thing in Disneyland in under 14 hours, and it was possible. 13 hours and 27 minutes, which was pretty fantastic.
Oh, that's great. I hadn't heard how it turned out.
Went to California Adventure the next day as a congratulatory non-speedrun day.
Well earned.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did they have to do this like, did they have to min-max it by going on an off-peak day and, like, not going when it was popular and doing stuff in, like, a really weird way and stuff?
Yeah, they went on Sunday, this past Sunday, and so it was kind of like an off day. And this is, I believe, Michael's a little bit more versed in the Disneyland comings and goings, but I'm pretty sure this is off season. I mean, most of the rides are down for refurbishment.
Yeah, it's definitely the quiet time at the parks right now.
JJ, you haven't been recently, but all of Main Street is torn up.
I mean, the last time I was there was like a year ago or something, or a little year and change maybe.
Yeah. It's
so like there's no Main Street at all? Like, how do you get places?
They're repairing the tracks right now, the trolley tracks, so you can't walk right down the middle of Main Street, but you can walk down either side, and there are cut-throughs every so often.
Oh my god. That
Yeah.
sounds awful. That's not fun
it's
or good.
Pretty rough for traffic. It also means there's no fireworks right now, because where would people stand?
Right, yeah.
There were some interesting things about it that I didn't know about Disneyland, like they know that people have claustrophobia, so if you want to do the submarine ride, there's actually a way to do the submarine ride without getting in the submarine. Also, I think it's the ADA way.
What?
Because you can't put a wheelchair on the submarines.
Right.
So you can go to what they call the observation deck, which is a video version of the ride.
Huh.
Yeah.
So they just have like a video shot from inside it or something, and they let you watch what you would see out the windows and hear the narration or whatever?
Must be, yeah.
Huh.
And
There is a similar one for the castle. So if you can't go up the stairs and walk over through the castle, there's a little room that you can go in downstairs and sit and hear and read the narration of the story you would see as you walk through it. Same idea.
yeah. Yeah, the order was interesting to watch. I did follow it most of the day. I fell off a little bit towards the end, obviously, because it went past 9 o'clock. But, there were some things like Toontown where they were able to knock that out in, like under an hour. They just did all of it very first thing. Or like riding the train to different sections of the park, but not counting the train as complete until way later when it was actually you'd made the whole circuit. And then like leaving one ride in each land essentially because the lines are too long or you needed the fast pass there. And then like how to count the characters. They had to do the characters too and all that. So it was kind of interesting. It was fascinating. And a lot more of the experience of Disneyland than I've ever done in one sitting.
Yeah, I was going to say, it sounds almost like work. Like you've taken the fun out of it by having everything be a lot of work, getting it all together, right? There
was a lunch periscope of like checking in at lunch, and the exhaustion was already evident at that point.
Yeah.
So it was not maybe the biggest of deals, but it was a deal. It was fun to follow. And now that we've spent 25 minutes explaining it, I'm sure that it was very interesting for other people. You know what? They should do it, though. I mean, now that the marathons are not on anymore currently, something like this would be kind of fun to get like a community into, I think.
It'd be tough, though, because like the community would essentially have to be Southern California based, because how many people can afford to go to Disneyland all the time and plot out all that stuff if you don't live nearby?
But they do like a Dapper Day, right? This could be like Speedrun Day. One day a year, everybody tries to go and beat each other.
Well, if you get too many people that are all doing the same strategy, it ruins the strategy, right? So then you have to like come up with off-strategy ways to beat the strategy and get a better time.
Meta speedrunning Disneyland?
Yeah.
MDLDQ 2018? The hashtag's getting to be a mouthful.
Nobody has time to tweet out. They're too busy running from ride to ride.
You can't actually finish the hashtag before you get on the next ride. Oh, man. All right. This is a gaming podcast. What's everybody playing this week?
I have been getting back into that old Civ and playing through some of the new stuff in the new expansion.
Oh my.
Although I am only partway through the first game in it, I'm playing the Netherlands, one of the new civs. It's pretty good. I got boxed in kind of early, as can happen when you have a neighbor who, like Montezuma tends to be in these games, where he's kind of expansionist and he likes to fight, let's say.
Not your friend.
No, but strangely, for reasons we'll soon see, he did not want to fight me that much for whatever reason. He was real interested in like taking over all my neighbors, though, which he did, and then kind of just left me alone in my little corner of the world. So I have like 3 cities, and I kind of can't expand anywhere else because at this point the world is kind of taken over. There's some little places I could go build some small little cities, but that's kind of it. And due to the new loyalty mechanics, you don't want to be founding cities right next to other people's big cities, because that was a strategy you could use before, where like if their big city is starting to expand towards your stuff, if you found a little city in between, that takes up the space of for their city to expand, and it can't get any bigger, right? And now that land is basically yours, more or less. There are some ways you can flip those, but
yeah, a lot of cultural work, yeah.
So, but now, because of loyalty, if your city is getting pressure, like loyalty pressure from one of their big cities or something nearby, your city will eventually just rebel against you and go join them. And so then all the work that you did just becomes their work, and that's not great. So,
now, Civ 5 had the strategy that you could kind of get by with 3 cities and just science your way to the end of things.
Yeah, so definitely you can still do that. That's what I'm currently working on in this game, although I don't know if I'm doing that well, mostly because, like I said, my starting location wasn't ideal, and I kind of had to fend off a guy who was pretty violent early on, and my Civ, the Netherlands, are not really suited for that. They're kind of trading focused. So as I got later in the game, I was trying to figure out why this guy never really wanted to attack me. Like, he eventually would come around and say, oh, like, we like your people or whatever and think they're great. And then sometimes he would come around and say, oh, like, why are you guys doing this? Do you want to be, like, taken over? And it was like, he was really, like, back and forth. I was trying to figure out what the deal is. Well, I eventually got a spy, and I sent it to his capital so I could figure out what's going on. Used him to spy on his, like, diplomatic agendas, so you can kind of see like what the things that they want are. One of the things that he wants is to be friendly with all other female leaders in the world.
All right.
And because the leader of the Netherlands is Queen Wilhelmina, I got I got a free pass, I guess, somehow. It doesn't mean I still don't have to play nice with him, but he didn't want to take me over, whereas he does want to take over all the other people on our continent. So that's their problem and not mine. Which I thought is pretty funny, basically being saved because he wants to flirt with me.
Odd.
Not really a strategy-focused thing, just likes women, basically.
That game has so many behind-the-scenes things, but how's the new expansion treating you?
It's pretty cool. So one of the things I do like is their new system of having Dark Ages, Normal Ages, or Golden Ages. And as the eras in the game progress, you go from the Ancient Era to the Industrial Era to the Classic Era to the Renaissance, the Industrial Revolution, like those kinds of eras. There's this constant score that they're keeping. And you earn points for all kinds of stuff. You complete a trade route, you get a point. You kill a barbarian village, you get a point. You discover a new civilization, you get a point. Find a wonder, you get 3 points. Research some really important technology, get a bunch of points. There's little points you can get here and there along the way for doing all kinds of stuff. I don't really know what the full list of things you can do is, and that's one of my dislikes about the system. And then at the end of each era, there's basically a score, and they'll tell you what level of points you need for the next era in order to get either a Dark Age if you fall sort of behind where the rest of the world is going, a Normal Era if you fit in a range in the middle, and then a golden era if you exceed the top end of that range. And the way it kind of works is you get penalties in a dark era, and you get bonuses in a golden age. You get penalties in a dark age, bonuses in a golden age, and if you're in the normal one, it's kind of just whatever your civ is doing, it continues to do. And there are special policies that get unlocked if you fall into a dark age. So like special people that have played Civ might remember that there are civic policies you can enact that change the bonuses and stuff that you get from your cities and sort of like the government civics side of things.
Mm-hmm.
And special ones of those get unlocked if you get to a dark age, and they're really powerful, sort of in a way to like help you, since you were kind of falling behind, catch back up in some ways. But since you were behind, there are also penalties that you receive as being a part of a dark age. Whereas someone in a golden age gets a bunch of bonuses, and also gets people in normal age get these too. They have these dedications you pick at the end of every age for something that you get to help you earn points in the next age. And I think if you get a golden age, you get more powerful versions of those. So it's like kind of like a little push-pull. It's something else to do and some other goal to pursue. Because like, I don't know if you guys feel this way, but sometimes if you're going for like a science victory or the cultural victory, the middle turns of the game get kind of boring because you're kind of set. You know how many cities you want. You don't really want to build more of those. You don't want to go to war. So you kind of just want to like end turn a bunch to get the techs and the research that you need so you can get along with the part where you try to win. And this stuff makes you go out and do other things on the map so that you can get these points.
That's cool.
Yeah, I just find myself clicking enter a heck of a lot when I go for a science or cultural victory. And then you have to wait 90,000 turns for the computer.
Right, so this gives you at least some stuff to try to pursue on your turn in order to get those points. Because otherwise the points are not going to come if you don't do anything, right?
Since you're in a dark age and you get detriments, how does the player not just fall behind all the time? Is there mechanics for crawling out of that? Or
yeah, so some of those policies will help give you big bonuses to the number of points that you earn so that it's possible to kind of pull yourself back into line with the rest of what everyone else is doing. And
Gotcha.
Also kind of, if you think about it, right, a lot of them are based on like exploring and trading or researching technologies or civics or in some cases military stuff. And you're going to be going for one of those things eventually if you're trying to win, right? So if you're behind because you didn't explore a lot, well, if you build like one ship and go sail it around the world, when you complete a circumnavigation of the world, you get like 5 points, which is a pretty big amount. Or if you discover a natural wonder while you were sailing, there's 3 more points. So it's just like it kind of encourages you to do some stuff and be more active in the game, even if you're going for one of those passive victory conditions.
Awesome.
A little less press B to win.
Yeah, it negates some of the end turn and let's just get on with the game effect that happens later in the game. And I think that's cool.
Nice. And Michael?
I've been holding steady with some Trails in the Sky. It's been good. Yeah, I finished the prologue and got through chapter 1 of, I believe there are 4 chapters in the first game. So, gotten into the meat of the story.
Cool. I am excited to hear how you feel as the game approaches its conclusions.
Should we make him do predictions?
Yeah, do you have any guesses about where you think this is all going to go in the end?
Ooh,
I think that's what our new RPG. Anytime somebody starts an RPG, we should just have to make them do predictions. Midway through, you're allowed to get a few, little bit into the game.
Okay, let's see. Predictions. I think that the colonel who runs the military's intelligence division is the same person who he and his assistant are aiding the brigands who get arrested at the end of chapter 1. That's my big prediction so far. I don't I don't think I know enough I want to make a prediction about what's going on with their dad, but I don't know enough about what's going on to be able to say where he is or what he might be doing yet.
Okay. But, like, what do you think his role is going to be in the story?
Do you think he's in the story?
Or, yeah, or does he even show up at all?
I'm a little bit torn because I feel right now that their hunt of him is kind of the MacGuffin in this story. And I think that everything might happen in spite of the fact that they're trying to figure out where he is. They might just sort of fall backwards into everything else as a result of this.
I like that.
Okay. I tried to type down MacGuffin on notes so we don't have to listen back to the pod to find out what your predictions were. And my computer auto-corrected it to McMuffin.
Your computer is hungry, I guess.
Not a good place to be if I need to be shoving Big Macs into this thing.
And so I've sort of been switching off some time by playing Trails in the Sky the Third, so a game that is an entire game ahead of where Michael is, and it's fun to hear you talk about those characters and what you think is going to happen, knowing where some of it goes. So I'm excited for you to get to see what happens.
Do you think any characters don't make it to the end, Michael?
That's a harder guess because I know that it's a 3-game arc.
Just this game.
Just this game. I'm gonna say no, that they don't lose anyone in this game.
Okay.
It's tough because, like you say, that it's a 3-game arc, and like there's a lot of stuff that happens in between there and there, right? So
I think he's allowed to reevaluate at the end of the game, for next game.
Sure.
Like, this guy's totally going to bite it next game.
Sure. I will be very interested to revisit all this stuff when he gets to the end of that game.
Yeah.
Yeah. There will be a lot for him.
Okay.
He'll have opinions, I assume, at that point.
I don't have any crazy stories for you guys, like video game wise this week. It's been kind of it was a weekend of birthday times deux. And working on this office, it's been kind of like vacillating. So like all the construction stuff came out because I finished it, like we said before, and then all the like junk came in.
The stuff that actually goes in an office. Well,
like all the comic books got put in here so that they could get sorted for the giveaway, sell, keep piles. Because there's only so much space in this house and we've overflowed it already. So stuff's got to go, and things like my football jersey came in here and got hung on the wall, but there's like stuff in here now. But I don't know if you guys have heard of the game Close Combat ever. Any no
not
takers?
that I can.
Doesn't ring a bell.
Okay,
What system?
It's a PC game. Originally came out for the Apple II, I think, was the first one. And then like 4 games after that, they all came out for PC. Top-down strategy World War II game. Considered by a lot of people to be kind of the hardest strategy series of that era of the 90s, for sure. I believe it's like real time as well, and it's pretty hard stuff. It just came to GOG, and I had like a brain. I don't know what you call it. What do you have it when you have like lightning, but not? It's not like a good idea. It's like remembered you had something.
Epiphany?
No, because I'm not smart.
Epiphany doesn't imply intelligence.
Okay. I had an epiphany that I had a disc of Close Combat somewhere in the house, and in an effort to like decide where to start on this pile, I went to find the old games to decide if I still needed them or not. And I did find them, and I did have a Close Combat disc, but I also found some other ones, and I think I want to start a section on this podcast because you go down a click hole sometimes, and then you remember really funny things from the 90s, and then you read even funnier things on the internet. And I think we should all bring to the table once in a while some kind of insane stories from old games. So along with the close combat, I found a disc for a game called Air Warrior 2. It probably doesn't even ring a bell either.
No,
Nope.
it does not.
The publisher, though, is Konami.
Okay. That does ring a bell.
Cool.
I want to read you a line here. Air Warrior was played over modems and this is from the Wikipedia for Air Warrior, was played over modems and hosted on an online service provider. Players could choose one of a number of World War II aircraft and play in a multiplayer arena with hundreds of players. That's kind of a big deal. You know, the original one launched in 1988. And the Air Warrior 2 launched in, I think, like 96 or so. So it was a long time ago to be playing 100 people over a modem on a single thing. Here's the best sentence of it, though. The original version ran on an Apple Macintosh, had simple black and white wireframe graphics, and could cost over $10 per hour to play.
What?
I'm sorry, what?
Did they explain how that works?
Nope. I'm trying my best to try and find like the.
It's got to be like phone line or like BBS toll charges or something.
Yeah,
I can't figure out how the heck you would get charged for playing the game.
$10 an hour. It's got to be between the modem and your phone service and all that stuff. $10 an hour.
Man,
that was funny line number one that I read when looking through all these old things before they went in the
dedication.
trash.
That's dedication because, man, that $10 an hour is a lot in the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did not look in to see if anybody had patched that disc to work anymore, but yeah, so that was funny to read before I threw that one away. And then and a game you guys will remember, Battlefield 1942.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So before trying to make this disc work, popping it in my computer, I decided to look up online whether or not there was a single player, like an offline single player to the game, which I, in my brain, said, nah, I don't think so. It probably really did not have a single player. And I was correct. But when searching that, I ended up on an Anantech, right?
Yeah. Tech website, yep.
Yeah, Did you know Anantech had a forum in 2002 dedicated to Battlefield 1942?
Okay.
And
was not aware.
Yeah, and in 2002, they were talking about patch 1.2. Now the bots are too hard, all that sort of stuff. And I wanted to read one here from a senior member, KH85, posted December 12th, 2002. I have Battlefield 1942, and I think I'm alone on this forum. I don't feel it is that good. I know it was made for the fun element, but I like games that have at least a bit of realism. I.e., when using sniper rifle and I shoot someone in the head, I expect them to die, but I shoot them in the neck and they die.
Okay.
This is the type of stuff that we were worried about in 2002.
Okay.
Yeah, that's I remember the thing I remember about in Battlefield 1942 was that if you had a joystick, you were essentially a hacker because you could fly the planes and helicopters really well. And anyone who did not have a joystick was basically at the mercy of the people that did.
Well, it's funny.
The jets and the planes and helicopters are like way better than ground troops.
It was funny because it says, wow, with patch 1.2, the bots are too hard. I get up in the air and I get shot down 30 seconds later. I'm like, I remember playing that game online, and no matter what I did, I was dead every 30 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. That sounds exactly right.
I think maybe the bots are more accurate to... Anyway, that was my trip down memory lane. I don't know what to call that segment of the podcast. It's kind of ridiculous, and I don't know the way to stick around, but I thought it was really funny to discover, A, you could pay $10 an hour to fly wireframe planes at each other, over a modem, and B, that an Antec was around in 2002 with people complaining about Battlefield bots. This world is weird and it moves very fast, you guys.
Yeah, man, that's those are some deep pulls there for sure.
Yeah, well, it was the divining rod of hearing that GOG had put up Close Combat, which is actually a really good series of games, and I don't mean to have this conversation degrade from that. That kind of like said, you should go find that binder and throw 3/4 of it out and then put it away. Yeah, and then you get leaned down a click hole. Hey.
Yo.
Hi.
Let's talk about AMD for a second.
Okay.
Got some processor thoughts?
Yeah, has anyone on this podcast other than myself owned an AMD GPU or CPU ever?
Ever? Yeah, totally.
Okay. GPU?
Yes, and a CPU. I think. It was a while ago, but if I had a CPU, it was with the GPU at the same time in the past.
Okay, got it. Michael's silence is a no.
Yeah, I was trying. I was trying to think. Not that I know of.
All right, I've tried AMD GPUs before. They worked okay, and then they were quickly overtaken by Intel or NVIDIA. And then I always heard, and I don't, JJ, you can speak to this one better than I can, but I'd always heard that kind of the AMD CPUs were the ignored little brother for a reason. Often, they either didn't perform, or when they did, they had problems.
Yeah, so that was definitely true in the past. I think their more recent CPU offerings are basically, they're not competing with Intel at the top segment of desktop processors. Mm-hmm. They're competing at the lower segments, and for those cases, like your what would be equivalent to your i5s and i3s and below, that stuff. And in those cases, they're often less expensive than what Intel is offering at those ranges. So they're trying to do. They're not trying to win the highest end. So if all you want is to run 50 screens at 4K and a million, all the shaders, everything to Ultra Max or whatever, then maybe, you're probably not going to want to end up getting an AMD. And a lot of people that read PC articles and care about specs and stuff are chasing that kind of high-end stuff. But if you're building a system on a budget, they're definitely cheaper. And they can perform very well for moderate prices.
No, I'm not crazy, but Intel has been offering chips that, when paired with the correct board, can do graphics. CPU chips.
So Intel has integrated graphics in most of their CPUs these days.
Yeah. Now, AMD seems to be doing the same thing, and it sounds like they tried to cut into this market a little bit. Quote from Kotaku, AMD's newest processors are so good you can skip a graphics card.
Yeah, and that has been the case, actually. I think this is the second generation of these integrated ones from AMD. But for a typical person who does not play games on their computer, you don't need a graphics card, right? They're not going to get anything out of it unless they're processing video or streaming or something. There's really no reason for them to have a discrete graphics card, right? Mm-hmm. So right. If all you want to do is watch YouTube videos or work on Excel or whatever kinds of somewhat normal tasks on a computer, no reason for a graphics card. And these integrated GPUs will get you pretty far. You can boot Overwatch and play it on low, right? If that's all you want to do, you could do it. I don't know if you get 1080p out of that, or maybe you just barely get it if you turn all the options down or something like that. But, acceptable performance for people who just want to play the game, right?
Sure. Yeah, Kotaku seems to think that you can run a decent amount of games at at low on 1080p. The Ryzen 5 gets roughly 60 frames per second in Overwatch, whereas the Iris 630, which I believe is the Intel version, roughly is like at 30 frames a second for Overwatch. So that's
better than I expected. 60 is pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, Overwatch is not an overly taxing game on low. If you have no shading going on and low textures, there's not much else going on in Overwatch other than bright colors, right? So I'm not surprised it can. I'm surprised more that it can push 1080p, actually.
I mean, it can do full screen YouTube, and if you can do full screen YouTube, that's 1080p, right? In a lot of cases.
Sure.
So if it can do that, you should be able to do some rendered stuff, like I would think. I don't know. I don't know that much about that side of computing, but
yeah.
It seems reasonable to me. I don't know.
I thought this was interesting and something to bring up because I wanted to see what the thoughts were with the. We've been posting a lot of crypto mining articles about how the GPUs have gotten so crazy expensive, and part of me is that then gone down the rabbit hole of like, what does it cost to build a PC these days? Do you think this like surge in? I know Nvidia said they were trying to keep up now, and they're going to try and produce more and all that to meet demand for gamers and all these other people that want graphics cards that aren't crypto mining. Unless the bottom falls out of that, are we headed to the reality that Intel tried to push people to years ago, which is integrated graphics, discrete graphics cards go away for everybody that doesn't care about gaming under 4K?
Well, Andrew, let me tell you that already Bitcoin has been crashing. So, up from the highs where it used to be, it has fallen quite precipitously. I know at some point it was like around 18,000 per Bitcoin, and it's now down to like 6,000 or less. And it moves so fast, who knows by the time I say this, it could be anywhere from 20,000 to 0. But the trend line has been pointing down, so a lot of the discrete graphics stuff, when it was worth that high amount of money, became viable to do on a discrete graphics card, right? Because the benefit was so high, even for the little bit you would get by mining off a 1080 or whatever, like a very powerful graphics card. Now, when the price is down at like 4,000 or 5,000, that number, it becomes a lot less sustainable with the power level you can get out of a home GPU. You need dedicated graphics and dedicated Bitcoin mining stuff. So I think there's going to be a glut in the market here of used cards, not in the not too distant future, I think.
I don't remember if you guys, or I don't know if you guys remember this part, but maybe 6 or 7 years ago now, Intel at one point was saying they saw, basically just boards. Like they weren't even going to make processors anymore. They were just going to make boards because they weren't going to need to make discrete graphics much longer. So I guess maybe your answer is no, this isn't going to push it over the edge into that kind of like the enthusiast hellscape where we don't get to build what we want anymore. But I had a serious concern there if the graphics prices weren't going to come down, which it seems like there clearly are, that these new AMD chips, we're kind of going to lead the charge on saying, hey, code for these, don't code for people that are buying GPUs. We don't need them anymore.
Well, I think it's more a matter of you need to build a product. Your game needs to have the ability to scale, and you want to build your settings and the way your game renders in such a way that you can hit low targets like this integrated GPU. Like for instance, getting 60 frames per second on Overwatch with no discrete graphics card. That's like amazing. Like that's great. You can that's good. Like you can play the game in as good a way as people with, the difference is literally just how pretty it looks.
Right.
And if you can hit that and then also be able to hit the upside where a person who has the $3,000 computer or whatever can render all the beautiful graphics and make it look great and still play well. Like, that's the real goal, right? Being able to do both.
Do you think that these could hold up to the emulators and stuff, Michael?
Ooh, that's a good question.
You're processing and graphics at the same time. I don't know how heavy those tax your computer, and I think that of all the people here, you might have the most emulation background.
Yeah, most of my emulation tends to be old school, but yeah, I know they can get pretty intensive. That always seems to be the gate on emulating newer games, is that you have to wait for the technology to catch up to what the consoles are able to do, just built into the box. I don't know how much of that is still true anymore, but that's the way it was for a while. I guess I was thinking about it a little bit differently. I was stepping back from the gaming perspective and thinking, well, if you're Intel, you might be able to sell that idea better on a corporate level to a company that does, 3D modeling, for instance. Say, hey, you can buy or build yourself a box that has these discrete parts, or you can buy this one-piece solution from us for a better deal. So I don't think you're going to get to a situation where the discrete graphics cards go away, but I see a situation where you've got different markets. You have the people who want to build themselves boxes for high-end gaming or high-end video production, and they're going to want to be able to keep up piece by piece as the hardware gets better and better. And then you're going to have a different group that says, oh, I just want a large number of all the same solution, and I'll swap it out when they get old.
It's interesting, too, because the leaps in... Your idea, is interesting too, because of the leaps in RAM speed and the new M2 connectors for storage, and what's that has also done for like rendering video, especially, is something that I know it's a little bit about, and just the render times by changing your RAM speed alone they've now bottlenecked back onto the processor.
Yeah, M2 connectors make your hard drive's accesses so much faster than even an SSD is, that you can essentially shift all the weight of the big calculations, go from you have lots of time to complete them because you're pulling the information off of the disk, to the information is there, let's go, and the calculations aren't done, right?
Yeah, I was reading the speed on a RAID 0 M2 is too fast for anything that's produced currently for the home market. Like you literally can't render stuff fast enough for that, and that's shocking. And I wonder, does that mean we get some sort of new type of processor to help keep up, or like a secondary processor or GPU? I don't know. This is crazy. It's a crazy new world. It's kind of fun.
I think, at least, touching on what Michael said, that idea is kind of already here. The discrete, I want to build and upgrade my computer, market is kind of already an enthusiast market, and that kind of already exists, and they know, and we are all members of it here, right?
Absolutely.
And I just want to buy a box and replace it when it gets old already exists in the business world. But they're not, I don't think those things are, they still have CPUs that are socketed into motherboards and stuff. So, it's possible that they go some way of here's just a flat board that has all the pieces integrated, and you buy it straight from Intel or whatever. Although,
yeah, and your
I
IT department just drops it in. They don't even need to buy new boxes anymore. They just get a shipment from Intel of boards to throw into these boxes.
Yeah, I imagine that companies like Dell and the kind of Lenovo's and integrators and PC builders of the world would not be super happy with that arrangement, though. So, who knows? It's certainly possible.
Well, we live in the future, man, and we can shoot cars into space. So,
man, that was so cool.
Oh my gosh, we all watched it live, right?
I was away at the time, but I did eventually watch the video afterwards. Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah.
The entire internet waiting on hearing about whether a rocket touched down on a barge was fascinating to me. I'm like, it felt as if it had, the 1960s, everybody's glued to the TV moment sort of thing. But you're just sort of hitting F5 on Twitter instead.
Tomato.
Yeah, the thing did not make it. Oh well.
They got 2 out of 3.
That ain't bad.
I'll give it to them.
And
Sure.
watching those two land simultaneously pretty much was really cool.
I think
And then hearing after the fact that they didn't engineer it that way, that they would land simultaneously, it's just kind of how the physics of it works out. They would land at basically the same time.
that was way more futuristic to me than the car flying through space, although that shot was cool. People live in space on a space station, so it's just a satellite with a camera on it at that point, right? But knowing that those things can land, they trusted them enough to land them on solid ground and not a barge, and they landed simultaneously because physics was pretty freaking cool.
I think my favorite description of what it's like to have one of those go up and come back and land is a comparison that said it's like taking a pencil, throwing it over the Empire State Building, having it make exactly 1/2 a turn, and come back down and land in a square the size of a shoebox.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Everything about space travel is amazing, you guys.
Oh, that's a wonderfully upbeat way to end the podcast. I don't even want you to say today.
I think that's fair.
All right. If people want to shout out SpaceX or send us any other cool articles about new AMD processors, where should they send that stuff?
There's an email at podcast@weweregamers.com. Send it there. There's also the Facebook, which is We Were Gamers. There's our Instagram and our Twitter account, which are both @WeWereGamers. You can leave us reviews wherever you get this sweet podcast from, and we will happily read them.
Space is cool.
All right, I'm going to go optimize my Disneyland routing.